It all comes down to this. One final race to decide the champion. Prost versus Senna. Meanwhile, Streamline need to finish one more race to achieve their pre-season objectives, or else the team could be in trouble. The Australian Grand Prix is next. Welcome back everybody to the finale of Season 1 of our 1988 Streamline career mode. And we head to Adelaide Street Circuit for 82 laps around this track. It's a driver's favourite, I think. Yeah, I love this circuit. It's a fantastic track. And there is rain in the air this weekend for qualifying. Pre-qualifying and the race should be dry. The objective is to finish the race, and that's important, as we'll find out in the mail later on. If you remember back to the first episode of the season, we had season objectives outlined by the boss, Barry Goodman. And it's imperative that we finish this race to meet those objectives. Constructors wise, it's already wrapped up for McLaren at the top of the table going into this race, but there's still battles further back, especially for that fourth place between Arrows, Williams and Benetton. It's an incredibly tight battle, and I'm sure there's going to be changes to the order come the end of the 82 laps today. The final look at our driver lineup for this season. Before it all changes, Martin Brundle, of course, he's going off to a different team for next year, and his relationship with us is actually low. Morale now is low and motivation low. He's pretty much given up at this point of the season, not much left to give. There's a lot of contract talk in the news, which we'll listen to right now. Eurobrun reserve driver Fabrizio Barbazza has been called up to race for Scuderia Italia as their first driver for 1989, and Manuel Pirro will join Barbazza at Scuderia Italia as the team expands to a two-car entry. Coloni secure the signing of Roberto Moreno as their first driver. Moreno reportedly rejected interest from Streamline. Coloni's second driver is set to be Luis Perez Sala. Perez Sala scored a point for Minardi this year and will be looking to take that form to his new team. Japanese driver Aguri Suzuki has signed for Zakspeed to partner Bernd Schneider. The move means that Piercarlo Ghinzani jumps ship to Osella in a reserve driver role. Ferrari race engineer Gunter Huffman has signed for Lotus to engineer their second driver. Ligier race engineer Cal Schumann has been rewarded with a promotion up to Williams. This move pushes Theo Lenting out of Williams. He has since signed for Tyrrell. Arrow's chief designer Fabien Rapace is off to Tyrrell. Both Osella's technical director and chief designer have left the team. Technical director James Baglin is headed to Minardi, whereas the chief designer Jefferson Tenthai moves to AGS. Prost leads Senna by 4 points heading into the final round. It all hangs in the balance. Who will be crowned champion? That's all for the news. Well, it's all very exciting. There's been no change in the cars from last race to this race because it's the end of the season and car development has stopped as everybody's focusing on next season's vehicle. We have some important mail to go through. First, it's from Carl Wendlinger. You'll remember in the last episode I asked you guys to vote on who should be the reserve driver for next year, and the top three picks were Wendlinger, Zanardi and Amati, so we've asked them about their availability. This is what Wendlinger had to say. He says, I am interested. I have received your advances regarding the open reserve driver position at Streamline for 1989, and I have to admit I am rather interested in the position. I'm still only 19, but I certainly have my aspirations firmly set on reaching Formula 1, and I believe this could be a great opportunity for my career. I look forward to hearing from you, Carl. It's good that he's interested. He's the youngest of the three that we're trying to offer a contract to. And dare I say, he's probably the one with the highest potential as well. Marty's 29 by this point, Zanardi 22. And you just heard Carl Wendlinger say he's still a teenager. He's driving right now in German F3. And if I had to choose out the three, I'd probably go with Wendlinger. Now, I wasn't exactly expecting this response from Zanardi, but he had this to say. I am flattered to have received interest from your team. I do have to state that I would require an extensive amount of convincing for me to join. Although a reserve driver position looks great on paper, I am uncertain on the value it would provide me, considering the level of your team. I am still open to discussion. Please let me know if any interest remains from your side. Alex. Yeah, he did show, well, on that graphic that I made last time, medium interest. So there's still interest, but he has doubts about the quality of our team and the quality of what we can actually offer him. Really, it's the other way around. It's what he can offer us. He's still a young driver in Italian F3. So really, I don't think the ball is in his court. Giovanna Amati was a slightly different decision in the shortlist because Zanardi and Wendlinger definitely have a high potential. Amati, on the other hand, slightly lesser skilled driver and more she offers something different, let's say that. And this is what she had to say. Nice to hear from you. I am incredibly interested in the reserve driver position at Streamline. I've been experiencing a high level of competition in F3000 and I believe I would add value to your team. Hiring me for that position would be great publicity as well, which will hopefully benefit the team both on and off the track. Just let me know what you need me to do. Kind regards, Giovanna. It's been, I think, almost a decade since a female driver has tried to qualify for a Formula 1 race. Of course, this will be a reserve driver position for Amati, and her results in F3000 do not suggest anything special in the driving side of things, but publicity-wise, this could be a very good move for the team. She might be able to bring in sponsors, and for a team our size, that could be crucial. What I need you guys to do is go onto the Streamline Discord and vote. It's the last vote between these three drivers who you want to sign for the team. The big boss, Barry Goodman, has been in contact. The final race. At the beginning of the season, I outlined my expectations of our team for this season and warned that failure to meet these would result in a possible termination of your contract. Objective 1, qualify for every race. We've failed that. Objective 2, finish 50% of the races. We've completed 7 out of 15 so far. That's 46.6%. We must finish this final race to meet the secondary objective. We must consider this season a failure if this does not happen. A few episodes ago, we put a vote towards the board of directors to see if they had any confidence in my abilities and whether they wanted me to stay on as 1989 team boss. It was an overwhelming majority saying yes. So even if we do not meet this objective of finishing half the races this season, I'll still be in the seat for next year. Time to see what the members of the paddock and news have been saying. Thomas Wood from What F1. It all comes down to this. Senna has suffered from his own lack of experience in the title fight this year, with back-to-back retirements in the past 2 races, whilst his teammate has won them both. Prost heads Senna by 4 points going into the final round, and I cannot see an outcome where Senna wins this, although I will happily be proven wrong. Prost is going for, I believe, his 3rd World Championship. Senna, of course, has won 0 World Championships, so based on experience in these crucial moments in a season, Prost, it's in his court. He's got the advantage in the championship standings as well, and it'll be hard to see Senna winning from here, but you never know, it could happen. James Empted from Inside F1. Detroit closing on new deal. It was reported earlier in the season that the Detroit Grand Prix might extend their current contract with Formula 1, and it seems that might have been true. Representatives from both sides have met over the past few weeks in an attempt to finalise the deal, which will see the Detroit Grand Prix remain on the calendar for another 3 years. Personally, I'm not a fan of this deal because I don't like the circuit, but apparently reports are saying the Arrows 1-2, with Eddie Cheever winning, has sort of helped with this deal. Jeff Bennett from Uni Motors. Will Capelli be ready? Ivan Capelli suffered serious injuries whilst qualifying for the French Grand Prix this season and has since missed the remainder of the season. But with his move to Minardi already confirmed, is there a concern there? Minardi are confident Capelli will be at 100% come the first race day in 1989, but rumours are suggesting his recovery has been rather complicated, something to keep an eye out over the winter. Yeah, Capelli, he had a huge accident. I can't remember his injuries specifically, what they had, but he had to miss the rest of the season. And of course, Andy Wallace has been filling in for him. But he is moving to Minardi yet next year. But if his recovery is not going to according to plan, is that a risky move for Minardi? Anyway, enough talk. Let's get into the action of this race weekend, starting with pre-qualifying. Beautiful sunshine above the circuit as Stefano Modena was the first driver to set a time. Piercarlo Ghinzani next across the line goes in second place. This could be his final race in Formula 1, so he'd really want to make it onto the grid. Oscar Larori, though, goes up to second place. So right now it's a Eurobrun 1-2 as the time is ticking down. There's the Osella of Nicola Larini out onto circuit to go into second place and split the Eurobruns. And then Stefano Modena now, towards the end of the session, goes even quicker. And with a last gasp effort, Ghinzani cannot move off the bottom and he's out in pre-qualifying. In what is most likely his final race in Formula 1, let's be honest, I know he signed a reserve driver deal for next season. Ghinzani, though, knocked out here. His teammate, his Zach Speed, Bernd Schneider, does get through and it's very close between those top 4, but Modena is the fastest here in pre-qualifying. Of course, the rules with more drivers on the grid next year, the rules for pre-qualifying is going to be different. I'm not entirely sure what the governing body has decided on just yet, but we'll have to wait and see for 1989, I suppose. Anyway, let's jump into the main qualifying session. Qualifying got underway in damp conditions and there was an ever-present threat of rain. Andy Wallace out early to get the provisional pole position, beaten by Nakajima in his final race for Lotus here. The Japanese driver goes to provisional pole, and that's swiftly beaten by Alessandro Nannini as drivers getting to grips with the circuit. Martin Brundle heads out onto track to see what he can do. In the meantime, Derek Warwick to the top of the table. The Arrows looking good around here this weekend. Of course, they've won at a street circuit already this year. Michele Alboreto next across the line to go to provisional pole in what is his final race for Ferrari. Martin Brundle across the line. His first time is 4 seconds down on the Ferrari's time. And Brundle goes for back-to-back laps, and he pretty much matches his previous best, but not an improvement. Senna's first lap was only good enough for 12th place, and that could have been due to traffic. It's always difficult at the street circuit. Martin Brundle goes out again for another few laps and improves by half a second. It's a 21.5, but it's only 24th place right now. Brundle is in danger of being knocked out. Another lap on the board and it's 4 tenths slower as the conditions are worsening. The rain is intensifying. Prost, though, doesn't matter. He's on pole position. He takes provisional pole right at the end of the session. I'm sure he's going to keep it because the rain is coming down even heavier. Gabriel Tarquini left it too late. He's 30th place.
Senna!
On what could be the third championship of his career this weekend, Alain Prost claims pole position just ahead of the Ferrari of Michele Alboreto. Nelson Piquet in third for Lotus, and it's Williams of Mansell in fourth. The Benetton of Boutsen in fifth place makes it 5 constructors in the top 5. Nakajima sixth in his final race for the Lotus team. Gerhard Berger only 7th, so he's outqualified by his teammate Alessandro Nannini in the second, Benetton 8th, Patrese 9th, and Ayrton Senna struggling in that qualifying session, only 10th place. Remember, he's 4 points behind Prost in the championship. Derek Warwick starts from 11th place, and it's Gugelmin in the March. Chiva, Alio and Wallace 13th, 14th and 15th place. On to the second half of the grid. It's René Arnoux Ligier in 16th, then it's Martini in the Minardi, Johansson in the second Ligier in 18th place, Strife and Perez Sala on the 10th row of the grid, then it's the two Tyrrells on the 11th row, Palmer once again ahead of Bailey. Stefano Modena makes it onto the grid for Eurobrunn, and so does Bernd Schneider in the Zach Speed. It's 2 Eurobrunns on the grid today with Oscar Larori in 25th, and the final driver making the grid is Nicola Larini in the Osella, which crucially means Martin Brundle fails to make it onto the grid today, and that's 2 failures in qualifying so far this season for Brundle and Streamline. Dalmas, Caffey and Tarquini join him on the sidelines, and that means we need to find a car to watch on board for this race, and thankfully the kind friends at Williams are allowing a camera to be installed on Riccardo Patrese's car. So we'll be watching Riccardo Patrese's one-stop race starting down in 9th place. Let's see if he can score some points. There's only one more thing to do, and that's go racing. The 1988 Australian Grand Prix is next. And here we are on board with Riccardo Patrese, started down in 9th place, and the Williams driver is aiming for a points finish as away we go. And there's a staller on the grid, it's Nakajima. There's another staller further back as well, and I wonder what effect that has had on the midfield cars trying to navigate their way around it. But through the first couple of corners we go. On board with Patrese, he remains in 9th place. Gugelmin there in the March and 8th. Up the inside into turn 4 goes Patrese, and there's another spinner. That's Piquet. Piquet's around and he's missing his front wing. What has happened there to Nelson Piquet? Meanwhile, Patrese up to 7th place on the verge of points. He was on the inside of Alboreto. Alboreto gave Piquet no space whatsoever, and Nelson Piquet, the Brazilian, is tumbling down the order. The reigning world champion not having a fun time of it. Neither is Luis Perez Sala, is that? No, that's Martini. Martini out of the race, stalling on the grid, and Nakajima in his final race for Lotus also stalling on the grid and getting hit from behind by Ayrton Senna, who is now tumbling down the order. Senna with damage, and that is absolutely disastrous for his title hopes in this race, as Alain Prost leads at the front down this back straight for the first time on lap 1, and it's Warwick versus Patrese. Patrese using the slipstream and using this Williams car to his advantage up the inside into the hairpin to move up into a points position. That's the aim for the Williams driver today, who's not got many points this season. But at the end of lap 1 should I say, Alain Prost leads. Alboreto in 2nd place. Not sure on that incident with Piquet though. Will Alboreto be in trouble with the stewards? We'll wait and see. Mansell in third, Boots and Berger, and it's not Warwick anymore. We know it's Patrese, but at the time of Prost crossing the line, it was still Warwick in 6th place. The big gainers on that opening lap: Stefan Johansson up 6 positions, Modena, Schneider and Larini also up 6 positions, and they're making good gains. Ayrton Senna, he got away without losing a front wing, but apparently he's got some suspension damage, so we'll have to monitor his progress through the grid. But right now he's down in 16th place, as that's a mistake for Patrese on this second lap, and he runs wide and does lose the position to Derek Warwick again. This is Senna trying to make his way back through the grid. He's up the inside there of Bernd Schneider. I believe that is for 15th place in this race. No, not even that. It's for 17th place in this race, as Julian Bailey on the second lap, he's the 3rd retirement of this Grand Prix already. That's engine failure for the Tyrrell, and he's out of this one. Not good for Bailey, as Senna is not done with his overtaking for this second lap of the race. Up the inside of Stefano Modena for 16th place. He's got the bit between his teeth. Remember, he needs to outscore Alain Prost by 4 points today to be crowned champion, as that's Alboreto going slowly. Does Alboreto have damage? Does Alboreto have an issue? I think he's coming into the pits to retire. I don't know if that has anything to do with the damage that he sustained with the incident with Piquet on the opening lap, but Michele Alboreto on lap 4 pulling in to retire his car from the race. That qualifying position means nothing now that he's out the race, as Senna making a move on Perez Sala for 15th on lap 5. And in the background, there's a battle between the Zach Speed and is that the Minardi? No, that's the Tyrrell of Jonathan Palmer going through, and Piquet overtaking the Osella of Larini. Nelson Piquet, he fell all the way down to 23rd when he pits, and now he's making his way back up the order and picking up the inside of Schneider there for 18th place. I think we'll see a lot of Nelson Piquet today, but it's not a good day for the Brazilian drivers. Senna, Piquet and now Gugelmin in the wars. Maurizio Gugelmin, it seems to be a gearbox issue. He's pulling in to retire from this race. Apparently Alboreto's issue was gearbox as well. And whilst we saw Gugelmin retire, this is what happened earlier on in the lap. Chiva getting past him. We now know that is because of the gearbox issue. And of course Andy Wallace going through on Gugelmin as well. As now on lap 10, this is the battle between Piquet and Modena for 15th place. Stefano Modena giving him the space. Piquet forces his way through and up into 15th. Moving on to lap 11, it's Senna versus Strife. 2 S's and Ayrton Senna on the inside of the hairpin. That'll be the favoured overtaking place throughout this Grand Prix. You've already seen in the opening 10 laps there's been a lot of action at that corner. Strife is actually trying to fight back, but Senna does manage to squeeze through into 12th place. And Piquet on the following lap up the inside of Perez Sala to put a move on the Minardi driver. Piquet now up to 14th place as Patrese makes a mistake there. Clatters into the wall, but no damage done, and the Williams can carry on. He's still in 6th place, but he's got Eddie Chiva very close behind him. Andy Wallace on lap 17. It's not good for March. 17 laps into the race, and both their drivers out. That seems to be maybe suspension failure. And who is that running into the back of it? That's Alio losing his front wing. He maybe was unsighted through the hairpin, and now Alio needs to peel off into the pits to replace that damaged car and get a new wing on the car. Alio was in the battle for maybe a top 10 finish in this race. But this is Prost right now trying to lap Philip Strife. And he's made contact with Strife, and round goes Prost. Can he get the car facing the right way again? He's had such a great start to this race, and he's struggling to find reverse gear. Is Prost out of the race? Is Prost out of the race? No, he's managed to get the car back going again, and away he goes, but he's missing a front wing, and he's lost a whole host of time, and this will give Boutsen an opportunity to overtake Prost for the lead of the race. Right in the background you can see the Ferrari of Gerhard Berger, who started down in 7th and is now battling for 3rd, maybe 2nd when Prost pits. But here goes Boutsen to the inside of Alain Prost, braking later than the McLaren. He's on the inside, McLaren of Prost on the outside, and through goes Thierry Boutsen into the lead of the race for Benetton. Senna though, it's not going too well for him as Perez Sala is trying to overtake him. That damage to Ayrton Senna's car is getting worse and worse as the laps go on. And meanwhile his teammate Prost having issues, it doesn't mean anything for Prost because he's got that position ahead of Senna in the championship. And Senna on lap 24, he's holding up a Eurobrun. That's how slow Ayrton Senna is going here. And I think his championship hopes have well and truly slipped away. I'll tell you what, this race, the first 24 laps have been very exciting. Lap 26, Boutsen leads Berger, Nigel Mansell in 3rd place for Williams, Derek Warwick up to 4th, Prost after his pit stop is down in 5th, and Riccardo Patrese, who we've been watching on board today, in 6th place just ahead of Eddie Cheever. Arnoux, Piquet and Johansson rounding out the top 10. And let's point out Nelson Piquet. Since the previous update, Piquet has gained 14 places and is back inside the top 10. This is a truly magnificent drive from the 3-time world champion Nelson Piquet. Johansson, Salah, Senna, Bonnet are all gaining positions in the past 20 or so laps as well. And we only have 19 drivers left in this one. It's an 82 lap race, remember. It's a long race. On lap 28, that's Berger for the lead of the race. Up the inside of Boutsen, a brilliantly late move on the brakes. Up the inside goes the Austrian, and he takes the lead. He's looking for his 3rd victory of the season. He's looking for his 2nd Australian victory in 2 Australian Grand Prix in the past 2 years. And Perez Sella, he's looking for the wall apparently. He's out of the race, the Minardi driver. Berger, though, into the pits on lap 35. And he's going to lose the lead to Thierry Boutsen. He did pull quite a gap to the Benetton driver in the past few laps after taking the lead. The Williams and Mansell in 2nd place. That's Warwick in 3rd and Prost right behind in 4th. As Senna being lapped, he's already lapped by the top 4. Berger rejoins right behind Senna. And this is going to be painful for Ayrton Senna to take. Blue flags waving. Berger moves up the inside. And Berger forces Senna into the wall. Through goes the Ferrari. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe a bit of bad blood between them. As Patrese making a mistake as the tyres start to wear. And through goes Stefan Johansson. So Riccardo Patrese finally falls outside of the points. And it's going to get worse for him. As here goes Nelson Piquet round the outside. Before braking for the final corner. Apparently Patrese's tyres completely gone off. There's Eddie Cheever moving past, and here comes René Arnoux to relegate Riccardo Patrese down to 10th place. Patrese's tyres completely cooked by this point, and maybe he'll have to think about putting a lap sooner than actually expected. But no, he actually goes even further, lap 39, lap 40 rejoining in 11th place. I don't think Patrese is really in the fight for points here today. Derek Warwick pitting on lap 42 from 2nd place. The Arrows driver may be an outside shot at a podium today. It would not be Arrows' first podium of the season. Of course, they claimed a 1-2 finish earlier on in the season, as there's Berger putting pressure on Alain Prost. Boutsen in 2 laps later from the lead of this race, the Benetton driver. He's on for a podium today if everything goes according to plan. And apparently, Prost is now going to take the lead of this race. 2nd place for Berger, 3rd place for Mansell, and 4th place maybe. Oh, Derek Warwick has got the jump there on Thierry Boutsen through the pit stop phase, and Boutsen rejoins down in 5th. Jonathan Palmer, though, out of this race. He's pulling into the pits to retire due to gearbox issues. There's been quite a few gearbox issues so far today, more so than most other circuits. It's a street circuit. Of course, there's a lot of gearing up and down between Boutsen and Warwick so far today, switching positions yet again. That's Boutsen overtaking Warwick for 4th place in this Grand Prix. Lap 51 on board with Patrese, who's trying to let Warwick through because he's lapping him, and Senna takes advantage and actually overtakes Patrese for position. Patrese is not going to have any of that, sends it back up the inside of Senna into the hairpin on the same lap to regain the place. Ayrton Senna down in 12th place, struggling with car damage, and it's not looking good for the Brazilian, but it's looking very good for Alain Prost, who will need to pit again in this race because of that damage he sustained earlier. The fuel issues is completely changed his strategy, so we expect Prost to pit again. Berger, Mansell completing the podium positions, and once again it's impressive to see Nelson Piquet up in 8th place. I don't know if Piquet actually needs to pit again. I think he's fueled to the end. If Piquet somehow scores points after being 23rd place and last of the running order on lap 2, that would be an incredible achievement and maybe the best drive we've seen all season. Philippe Alliot in the top 10 even after the issues he had earlier on. And it's disaster for Arrows fans all around the world as Derek Warwick retires, and the outside shot at the podium is well and truly gone. He's out of this race. Lap 61 on board with Patrese, who's battling Senna yet again, 10 laps on from their previous battle in this race, and Senna with the extra top speed down the straight retakes that position once again, Patrese tyres starting to go off. That Williams really heavy on the tyres. And as expected, Prost in yet again. Lap 66, so there's still 16 laps to go in this race. He can make that time up, but Gerhard Berger in the meantime is going to take the lead of the race. Like I said earlier, he's going for his 3rd victory of the season, which would be a great return considering where Ferrari were at the start. Boutsen in 2nd and Mansell in 3rd place. That's the top 3 different constructors, and Alain Prost rejoining in a comfortable 4th place. It's not looking comfortable for Stefano Modena though. He was on for his best result of the season of maybe 11th place. He's out of the race. Gearbox issues yet again. Philip Strife, another driver who's been, well, in the wars today with Alain Prost earlier on, and in the wars here, and in the walls here, should I say. He's out of the race. That seems to be brake failure late on for Strife. As Patrese, I think he's just had a bit of contact with Alliot, and round Patrese goes. He needs to get that car facing the right way again, and it was the LaRusse of Alliot on the inside of Patrese. They were both battling for, well, a top 10 position in this race, but it's now not looking good for Riccardo Patrese. He'll be absolutely furious with what Alliot did there, as Piquet making some progress in this race, now battling for 6th place. Eddie Cheever having that position no longer. Cheever forced wide by Piquet, and through goes the Brazilian, as on lap 73 we have Berger, Boutsen, Mansell, Prost, Johansson and Piquet, the top 6. Stefan Johansson is going to be under pressure from Piquet for the remainder of this race, because the gap is coming down lap after lap after lap. But Johansson on course to score more points for Ligier. He scored, I think, some points back in the Belgian Grand Prix, and Johansson, of course, moving to Streamline for next year, so this might be the final time he scores points for quite a while. Just 14 drivers remain with 10 laps to go. And crucially for the championship, Prost right now will finish 7 points ahead of Senna, as on lap 77, Patrese going for a trip through the, well, he's spinning around, isn't he? And that's a terrible rejoin, and he's rejoined straight into the path of Nicola Larini, taking the Osella driver out of the race. Patrese might be in trouble with the stewards there, on board with Nicola Larini. He could do nothing about that. That's completely Patrese's fault. A terrible driving error from Patrese, maybe a bit of brain fade, as he has to go into the pits, replace that front wing, and rejoins down in 12th place. As lap 79, Piquet and Johansson, I said it would get close towards the end of this race, and Nelson Piquet on the inside of the hairpin. Johansson can't do anything to fight off the Lotus, and Nelson Piquet completes a brilliant recovery up to 5th place. Gerhard Berger on the final lap is rounding the final corner for the final time to win back-to-back Australian Grand Prix, win his 3rd race of the season. He crosses the line here to win in Australia, in Adelaide. And Alain Prost, more importantly, is crowned 1988 World Champion. Riccardo Patrese finishes down in 12th place. A really poor result from him after qualifying inside the top 10. And let's take a look at the official results. Berger in 1st place. Thierry Boutsen, a very impressive 2nd place. And Nigel Mansell on the podium for Williams yet again this season. Prost does enough. He finishes 7 points ahead of Senna in the championship with that result. Piquet, a great recovery drive after being last on lap 2. Finishes in 5th. And Johansson, a great point there for Ligier. Cheever just misses out, and sadly arrows no points today. Ligier of Arnoux, the final driver on the lead lap. Senna a lap down on his teammate. Alliot 10th. Bernd Schneider 11th. Great for Zakspeed. You've seen the rest of the results there. And lots of retirements. Only about 14 drivers finishing this one today. Modena, Warwick, Palmer, all out. A couple of suspension failures for Perez, Salah and Wallace. Loads of gearbox issues today. The march of Gugelmin. Michele Alboreto on lap 4 out with gearbox issues. We had 2 stallers on the grid. Maybe even 3 stallers on the grid. Nannini, I completely forgot about that. We must have missed that on board. But Alain Prost sets the fastest lap of the race for McLaren. And these are the final point standings at the end of this incredible season. And against all odds, Alain Prost, who I think had 2 retirements in the first 3 races, and at one point was at least 20 points behind his teammate Senna, has come back and won this championship quite comfortably in the end. Senna, maybe the pressure getting to him in the end. Berger in a 3rd place. Piquet slipped down to 4th by the end of the season. Mansell just ahead of Boutsen by 1 point. That could have switched around with that result today almost, but Boutsen just finishes behind. We had 20 drivers scoring points today. Not today. This season. Martin Brundle, though, for Streamline, no points on the board, and the best result of, I believe, that one top 10 we had in Belgium. But for the first season, I'd say that's not even bad, considering the quality of team we have. I'm happy with having one top 10. Of course, we did not meet the objectives of the team, but that's not horrendous in the grand scheme of things. We finished 7 out of 16 races. We qualified for 14 out of 16 races. I'd say that's a pretty good return. The team standings look like this. It was always going to be McLaren winning this championship. They had such an advantage with their car at the start, but Ferrari throughout the year made great gains and they finished in a comfortable second place. Lotus on their own there in third, and what a battle that was for 4th place in the championship. Benetton scoring enough points today to jump up above Arrows and Williams, and they lead that 3-car or 3-team trio 4th, 5th and 6th with 35 points to 34 points to 34 points. Streamline in their debut season finish down in 16th place, ahead of Zakspeed and Coloni, but behind their other rivals Eurobrun. Thank you so much for watching, not just this video but the whole season. We started this series, I think, back in the end of August last year, so it's been a while. And thanks for sticking with it. I know there's been gaps between uploads and whatnot, but the next season, 1989, should be with you in maybe about 2.5 weeks. Make sure to get subscribed to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Leave a like on the video. Comment down below what you thought of the season, the first season of Streamline. And comment down below what your predictions are for next year. Of course, we've seen most of the driver changes and the staff changes. But what do you predict will happen in 1989? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.